The story of Moses is one of courage, leadership, and faith. Born into a time when his people, the Israelites, were enslaved in Egypt, Moses was destined to lead them to freedom. His early life, fraught with danger and divine intervention, shaped him for the monumental task that lay ahead. Raised in the Pharaoh's court, yet aware of his Hebrew heritage, Moses received a divine call to confront Pharaoh and demand the release of his people. Pharaoh, however, refused to acknowledge the God of the Israelites and scoffed at their request for freedom. The Israelites, desperate for liberation from their brutal servitude, cried out to God for deliverance. Their pleas resonated through the generations, a testament to the human spirit's enduring hope for freedom and dignity. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation, a clash between the power of an earthly king and the might of the Almighty. Moses, guided by God, stood firm against Pharaoh's defiance. He became the mouthpiece of God, delivering a message of liberation to his people and pronouncements of judgment upon Egypt. The Israelites, weary from years of toil and oppression, found renewed hope in Moses' words. They dared to believe that freedom was within reach, that their cries had been heard. A sense of anticipation, mingled with fear and uncertainty, rippled through the Israelite community. The time for talk was drawing to a close. The hour of action was at hand. The God of their ancestors was about to reveal his power and faithfulness in ways that would forever etch their story into the annals of history. The Exodus, a journey laden with both peril and promise, was about to begin. Pharaoh's heart hardened against the pleas of Moses and the plight of the Israelites. In response, God unleashed a series of plagues upon Egypt, each one a devastating display of his power over the natural world and a stark warning to the Egyptians. The Nile River, the lifeblood of Egypt, turned to blood, rendering it undrinkable and killing the fish. Swarms of frogs invaded homes and streets, disrupting daily life and spreading disease. Lice and flies descended upon the land in unbearable numbers, tormenting both humans and animals. A deadly pestilence struck down Egyptian livestock while painful boils afflicted the people. Hailstorms of unprecedented fury pounded the land, destroying crops and structures. Locusts, vast and insatiable, devoured any remaining vegetation, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Darkness, thick and suffocating, enveloped the land for 3 days, amplifying the sense of dread and despair. With each successive plague, Pharaoh wavered, promising to release the Israelites, only to renege on his word when the plague subsided. His advisors, caught between the Pharaoh's stubborn pride and the undeniable power of the Hebrew God, urged him to relent. The Egyptian people, their lives and livelihoods ravaged by the plagues, pleaded with Pharaoh to heed Moses' words. Yet Pharaoh remained obstinate, his heart hardened against the suffering around him. The plagues were not mere acts of retribution, they were a calculated demonstration of God's power and sovereignty over all creation. Each plague targeted a specific Egyptian deity, exposing the impotence of these false gods in the face of the one true God. The plagues were a cosmic showdown, a battle for supremacy between Yahweh, the God of the Israelites, and the pantheon of Egyptian gods. The 10th and final plague, the death of the firstborn, proved to be a turning point. This devastating plague broke Pharaoh's resolve, forcing him to confront the horrific consequences of his defiance. The Israelites, spared from this plague by following God's instructions, stood ready to depart. In the dead of night, with the cries of Egyptian mourners echoing through the land, the Israelites, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, began their exodus from Egypt. Their departure was hasty, a desperate flight to freedom. They carried with them their meager possessions, their hearts filled with a mix of trepidation and exhilaration. Generations had endured the yoke of slavery in Egypt, their hopes for liberation seemingly dashed time and again. Now, as they marched away from the land of their oppression, they dared to believe that a new chapter was beginning, a chapter in which they would finally be free to worship their God and live according to his laws. The Exodus was more than just a physical journey, it was a spiritual transformation. It marked a decisive break from the past, a rejection of idolatry and oppression. As they journeyed through the wilderness, their faith would be tested, their resolve challenged. They would face hunger, thirst, and the constant threat of attack. Yet they would also experience the miraculous provision of God, the guidance of his presence, and the forging of a national identity rooted in covenant and law. The Exodus was a defining moment in the history of the Israelites, a testament to God's power to deliver his people from bondage and to establish them as a nation set apart for his purposes. It would become a foundational story for generations to come, a reminder of God's faithfulness and the importance of obedience. The memory of their deliverance from Egypt would sustain them during times of difficulty and inspire them to trust in God's promises.